All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Launch Button, where we talk to successful business owners, entrepreneurs, real estate investors that have launched out of their corporate jobs and have started their own businesses, built different income streams for themselves, and were able to follow their passion and reach their goals in life. And today, we've got a special guest here, Jim. I'll introduce him here in a second. My name is Hugh. I'm your host for today. We're going to take you through Jim's journey on how he went from a CPA into the tech world, now into helping mid and small size business owners grow at that same rate as the large giant companies. So if that's what you're into, you're in the right spot here today. You want to launch your business to that next level. That's why we brought Jim on the stage here with us and on the podcast. So Jim, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your background and your journey to success.
So I've spent half my time earlier on working for large companies, primarily in technology and manufacturing, and a lot of work advising companies when I was at PricewaterhouseCoopers and KPMG. And the last 15 years or 18 years, I've spent building small businesses. Some of them I've started, some of them I've helped manage. And now I help leaders and founders of small and medium-sized businesses grow their businesses rapidly.
And one of the things, and Jim's being a little modest here, so we're going to allow him to share a little bit more here in a second, but he built his own business and exited, which is a big thing for a lot of people to do because they never quite get to that level. And now he's walking other people down that path. And it's always good to have somebody lead you down that path. And you said you were having the success of the corporate job. You transitioned from the CPA world into technology world. And I come from the tech world as well, being a director of technology, and then realizing it wasn't what I wanted to do. When you were in that world, you were like, I'm making an impact, but I'm not making the biggest impact. And you were like, I'm going to go start my business. What was the catalyst for you to go start your business? What was your vision?
I met my business partner and we clicked and had a good business idea, ran it by a test market and through some customer surveys, seemed like the good thing to do. And so we launched into it.
And was your family, did you have all the support from everybody? I mean, you're leaving a
I did have
job.
I did have very good support from my family, and had no concerns there. I had a bit of a nest egg stowed away that I could live on for a few years.
Okay, so you had being the financial planner, you had laid that financial plan that in the future, if you needed to leave, you had started that savings, you had started that. So somebody that's just starting out and they want to, potentially do that in the future and leave their job, what would you suggest, or an entrepreneur now that's running their business, what would you suggest they start to set aside to have that nest egg? Or is there a key to start to build that up so that they can follow their dreams and their passion?
The reality of starting a new business is you need to cross the chasm, as Jeffrey Moore would talk about, and it will take you 2 or 3 years to cross the chasm from the business idea or the new product or service. Even if you have a large company and you're launching into a new market or launching a new product, and you need to be able to sustain yourself at whatever you're comfortable living at for 2 or 3 years minimum, right? And then the rule is you plan for a few years. Hopefully the business is self-sustaining after a year, but worst case, it might take 4 years, right? So you need to figure out how you're going to bridge that, whether it's through your personal financing or raising capital or doing it through someone else's business.
There you go. You heard it. Make sure you set aside those funds so you have that 2 to 3 years to cross the chasm, right? To reach the other side, because we never quite know how long it's going to take to get to be where we want to be. And that's always the important thing, right? And I always talk with a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners. They're like, the first couple of years of business, you're not getting financing. You got to make sure you do that all before you leave, or you've got really good partners with deep pockets, right? That you line up beforehand. So they want to see that revenue. They want to see that. And that's not what a lot of people tell you when you go to leave a corporate job and become an entrepreneur where you don't have a typical W-2 paycheck, right? Awesome.
Well, a big part of it, in addition to everything you just said that I agree with, is you need to make sure that you're listening to your target market and develop what they have told you they want to buy rather than what you think they want to buy. Really, what you and I think about my new product idea is totally irrelevant unless you're a potential customer, and I've asked you, well, what do you think it's worth? And you say $5,000, and I'm willing to deliver what you want for $5,000.
So there's a big key. If you guys are here at Golden Nugget, go ahead and type a big G in the chat. Go ahead and hit the hearts, hit the likes on that. It's listening to the customer and not listening to yourself, right? And I see this with lots of entrepreneurs. They're like, I got to make it perfect. And then when they deliver that product, that service, nobody wants it, right? Versus if they just launched it and then allowed the customer, as you say, to sort of say, hey, I like this, I don't like this. This is what I need, right? To sort of figure it out in the marketplace. And we see that with a lot of tech companies now. You're coming from that, right? They used to
Absolutely
do all of that. So how could somebody test that, right? As you say, you're taking that rapid revenue growth model that you have in small and medium-sized organization.
Well, it's
How do they
easy.
test that?
You know, I'll actually give people through my app or website a checklist, which includes a questionnaire that they can ask their target market. The other question is, how do you define your target market? But you know, you actually survey the customer, and the question line of thinking starts with asking, well, what keeps you up at night? And on this subject, and what is your ideal idea of what needs to happen in this space? And you survey those target customers, which are defined in very strict ways. And one of those questions that you ask at the end of the survey is, well, what would you pay for it, and would you like to buy it? And then you have a lead if you're willing to give them what they want.
And you know what they're willing to pay, right? They already told you exactly the information you need. So it's not like, hey, right? So there you guys go. You're getting lots of golden nuggets. You may not be catching them all coming out of the air, but Jim's delivering the value, the content here today for you guys that want to launch and scale your businesses right there. Just ask your customers with a little survey, right? As you define them and as you get them where they want to be, they're going to tell you exactly what they want and they need. You just have to be able to listen. Is that one of the biggest things that you see from a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, that they have the vision in their head and not listening to their customers? Is that one of the biggest mistakes?
Well, that's just a symptom of that they're not open and malleable. And, you know, there are so many shoals and rocks that one can come upon through the process. So, for example, once you've got the answers to that survey and you know your target market, you need to find a certain type of buyer called an innovator buyer. An innovator buyer is only 3% of the market and is someone who is willing to take a chance on something new, on you if you don't have many references, and you do everything you possibly can to try and meet that innovator buyer's expectations, so you end up with references and case studies. And because the majority of the market, what's called the early majority, won't buy unless you have references and case studies and well-documented product or service. And so you have to be open-minded to doing things the way the customer needs them done, the way that I'm describing, say, selling to a particular type of customer, rather than believing that you know everything.
So there you go. Find the 3%, the innovator buyers that are going to jump on board early with you, and make sure you stay in contact with them to get their testimonials, get their videos, get their references, right? To prove it to the other 97% of the market. And that is like a huge key. Anybody launching anything new, it's those early adapters that are like, hey, I'm in. They might love you from your corporate job. They might love you from a different passion of yours, and they'll go ahead and sign on board. And once you get one or two of those, 3, 4, the wheel starts to roll, right? And I see this as one of the problems when I see a lot of people want to scale their business. They're like, they create that 5-year plan, and it's like every year I'm going to add 100 customers, right? And it doesn't go that way. The first year you only may get 5, and then 10, right? You're shaking your head, Jim. So explain this concept to them, that it's not a straight line to success as an entrepreneur business owner.
Well, if you look at most successful companies that have grown quickly and reached across the chasm, not only are those innovator buyers found who are willing to take a chance on something new, and just by personality, they want to be the leading edge in whatever their company's doing. Those innovator buyers are often personal relationships, people that are within their network, people who they've worked with before, who trust them to pilot this new idea inside their company. And those are what is part of what's defined by an innovator buyer. So if you don't have those relationships, you need to find people who you can put on your board or your advisory committee, or that you can network with, who will bring you those people.
There you go. You're getting lots of little tips here. And I don't know if you guys are catching them all. If you don't have the innovative buyers, right, bring people into your organization that have your target market. Work with them, partner with them, right? A lot of people do affiliates with people because they have the database or they have their opportunities that they want. And now it's just a question of getting your message out there to a bigger niche, a bigger audience, and being able to expand all the things that you do. So you guys are getting lots of great information here. Now, Jim, you said one of your passions on the side is you enjoy sailing. How did you get started as a sailor? Because everybody has a passion. And then how did that lead more into your finding happiness as a entrepreneur business owner?
Well, there's an old family shack that we call a cottage that I spent my early life visiting. It's not a 4-season home or anything like that. And through the many things that you pass the time during the summer doing, windsurfing and then sailing became a real passion. And then when I got stuck having to get a job and stay in the city, I got into sailboat racing, and now, I'm on a few boats with 6 or 7 other crew, and we went to the Canadian Championships in one of those classes last year.
Awesome.
Take us to the North Americans in Cleveland next year.
Now, so it's not just a small little passion. It's, hey, we are now at championship level, right? And the amount of things and the techniques and all the little things that you need to do and the skills that you had to build up over time is the same thing that entrepreneurs need to do, right? They need to build those skills over and over.
And it's a very good analogy, because there's an old sailing saying that you can't push on a rope. There's something that needs to happen at the other end of that line that someone else needs to do in order to make the boat work efficiently. And just like in an organization, you can't do it all yourself, and you need to rely on other people to work with you to get things done more optimally.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah, you can't push a rope, right?
And another part of the experience is you have to know the boat so well that you do things without thinking, very instinctively. And a coach I once had in another sport would say, well, you need to be the ball. You can't take time to think of where the ball's going. And when you're sailing, you need to be the boat and really feel everything, know everything that's going on, and in the wind going on around you. And the business is the same. You need to know your people, you need to know your customers, you need to know the competitive environment, the economic environment, and all these things are changing in real time, just like on a sailboat race.
Yeah. So yeah, you got to be the business, right? Be the ball, be the business.
Absolutely.
See everything going on, all the different angles, and the wind could shift at any point. Right.
And there was a time that in sailboat racing, nobody said anything except the skipper, and the skipper was the boss. And those boats aren't the fastest in the world now. The boats on the that are the fastest are anyone on the boat could do any position. They know everything that's going on in every other part of the business, and the person driving the boat is just one of the team that's working together to make it go fast. And it's the
Right.
same with your business, right? You need to have peers working with you who know what they're doing as good as you know what you're doing in your part of the business.
Yeah, and it's having those key team members, right? Like those key team
Absolutely.
members, and that's where you come in and help people through the process to sort of identify that, help them find that visionary customer, the early adapters that are going to jump on board and help them find that. Because you're like, oh, it's easy, and most people struggle with that. True.
Well, and what I most enjoy doing is the business development. So uh, through my course, I teach, or when I'm working with clients individually, I'll actually go out and help find those innovator buyers through my network and help them progress into being able to sell into the early majority, the more mass market. And you sell to the mass market differently, very differently than you sell to those innovator buyers or the early adopters.
Awesome. So, guys, lots of great information here. Two types of sales: the early adapters, and then right, you get into the traditional sale. Once you already have those testimonials, once you have that, I don't know if you guys are all catching those. So if you're catching it, type a C in the chat. If you just heard it when we repeated it, and sometimes we got to hear that over and over and over, that message, right? Just like on the boat, got to give the instructions over and over and over. Sometimes at the beginning, when you're forming a new crew, once they're seasoned, everybody knows their role, everybody knows their place. And one of the things I see in a lot of businesses is people don't know their lanes, and they try and do everything, especially as an entrepreneur. They try and do everything, but they might only be really good in certain areas. How could you help somebody identify what areas they're good at, what areas to either outsource or hire somebody for, going through that process?
Well, often people, all of us don't even know what we don't know, right? And so this is why it's important to have a mentor, and people on an advisory board. They don't need to be on a board of directors, but a group of people. You might even have a group of 4 or 5 peers that you meet with on a more personal level, and another advisory group who are more experts in the industry or experts in the field, who are willing to mentor you or guide you, participate in the company some way.
Okay.
People
And
people are more open to supporting you than you realize.
right. And there's all those different ways to compensate people, right? Because some people are like, well, I don't have the funds right now. Well, somebody might do it for equity, or somebody might do it to get your product, or just to help you because they see some potential in you, right? So I think a
Or
lot
just
of entrepreneurs don't think that way.
just to say that they're on an advisory board in the industry for a small business or a startup or something like that. The compensation doesn't need to be significant necessarily. People
I
are
think that, yeah, I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck. Like, I can't have an advisory board because they can't pay him, or what am I going to give them, right? Awesome. So as we wrap up here, and guys, another great episode of the Launch Button. Go ahead and type an L in the chat if you're learning something new here, and you can go and apply that to your business. Now, before we wrap up here, Jim, is there any little golden nugget, any quote that you like to use? I mean, you've already given some great selling quotes. But is there any quotes for business or anything that to help people sort of get unstuck and get to that next level?
know your customer, as we've already talked about, and
There-
keep your customers happy. It's not about what you know, it's about what they want.
Awesome. So know your customer, keep them happy, right? That's why they're buying from you. Don't be like Bud Light and shift. They're not saying they did right or wrong, but they lost their customer base, right? Because they went in a different shift of their customer base. Is that what you see happening with them? And we don't get into
You're not
politics
just
here.
selling stuff to them. You
Right.
are making a connection and a reference, and that's what's most important. More important than the revenue you're getting out of the deal, actually.
Yeah. And they can be, as you said, they're your Raven fans or not. So it's up to us to choose. So awesome. Appreciate you guys being here today. Another great episode of the Launch Button. And as we said, just keep taking one more step, one more action, one more next thing to reach that level of success so you can find that customer that you need that will become your Raven fan. We will see everybody here next time. Hit the hearts, hit the likes, leave the comments below. And thank you, Jim. And we have some
Thank
free
you.
giveaways for you guys. and they'll be in the show notes. So just go down, click in there, and we'll see everybody soon. Thank you for joining us on the Launch Button Podcast, your gateway to unlocking your true potential and pursuing your passions. Don't let the journey end here. For more empowering insights, valuable resources, exclusive content, and free giveaways, visit www.thelaunchbuttonpodcast.com.